Welcome to the Soul Infused Monday Show. I'm super excited that you're here. And if you're watching the replay right now, leave a comment below, say hello, so I know that you're actually watching the replay and I can connect with you. And if you're live on the show, say hello too. And if you're completely new to me and to my show, let me introduce myself. My name is Sonia Bueno de la Torre, and I believe that self-love is the foundation to inner peace, happiness, and success. And I also believe that in order for you to experience true self-love, you get to know who you really are, to connect to your higher self and the essence of your soul. And I'm here to help you to peel off the layers of the things that are blocking you so that you can make space for the soul to come in and feel vibrant, confident, and free to live your most authentic self and live your most authentic life. And today's topic is how to handle pressure and overcome resistance. And before I dive into it, I'd be curious if you are anything like me or highly sensitive and sensitive to energy. Pressure doesn't really work for you. You kind of don't function really well under a lot of pressure. Am I right? I'm just curious. Is that true for you? If that's true for you, say yes, that's true for me. And maybe even maybe you might know that a lot of pressure doesn't really work for you. And at the same time, the more pressure you feel, the harder you try, or you really try hard to do the things that you think you should do, and it creates more pressure and more resistance. I'm just curious, is that you? And if that's you, you're absolutely in the right place, and I can totally relate to it. And today I'm going to go over a few things and to share a little bit what is the difference between pushing yourself with pressure and or stretching yourself or challenging yourself to grow into your potential and greatness. I'm also going to share the best method to overcome resistance or deal with resistance, as well as explaining the energetics behind it and why pressure usually doesn't really work. So I'm going to take a moment to say hello because I love you and I am excited that you're here, and I want to acknowledge you for being here. So Darlene is here. Lynn is here. Hello, hello. Emily is here. Hi. Hariel is here. Hello. I always love when Europe is in the house as well. Lynn is here. Yes, space is important. Work hard, play hard for me. Yes, that is true for me. Yes. Okay. Greetings from Philadelphia. Ellen. Hi, Ellen. Lisa is here. Fantastic. Yay. Surprise live today. Love it. Okay. So, yeah. And if you're watching the replay and if you resonate with that, if you feel like you're someone who's sensitive and when you are under pressure that doesn't really work for you, leave a comment and say, yeah, that's me. Okay? And again, I'm going to make a distinction between something that doesn't work versus a healthy way of pushing yourself. Okay? And if you have questions along in the show, leave them below and I will come back to you. Okay, fantastic. Let's get started. So, and I want to share a quick story of one of my private clients because you might resonate with it, and the way I helped you might actually resonate with you too. So this week I had a private session with one of my private clients, and she was in so much resistance that she was even ashamed of being in so much resistance. She even wanted to cancel the session. She said, Sonia, oh my God, I'm in so much resistance. I don't want to do anything. I'm in pardon my language, but she says like, I'm in a fuck it all energy. I don't want to do anything. And I understand. I've been there many times. So, and she didn't cancel the session. So I invited her to bring anything in that was there and I would help her through that. So when I was tuning into that, she also shared with me that she was trying hard to get out of the resistance. She was like, I'm really trying hard to get out of this resistance and get the stuff done that I have. She is a life coach and she has clients, and she has also a business coach. So she was under a lot of pressure and a lot of mainly resistance. And I helped her to dig a little bit deeper, because when we are in resistance, we don't really see clear. Okay, from an energetical perception, when we are in resistance or extreme overwhelm or under a lot of pressure, we're disconnected with ourself and with our truth. So I helped to dig a little bit deeper, and what was happening for her, the reason why she was in resistance, and she wanted to also my help, because what happens for her, and it might relate to you because it happened for me in the past and it still sometimes happens, when we are under a lot of pressure over time to get things done and we don't handle that properly, it slips to the side of, fuck, I'm not gonna do anything, right? So it really bounces from one place that you wanna get done a lot, you push yourself, you wanna get done a lot, you're in such pressure that you say, fuck it, I'm not gonna do anything. So she was in the, fuck it, I'm not gonna do anything. However, underneath, there was a pain of being under pressure, and it was a boundary issue for her as well. So a boundary issue in a sense, like energetically, she did have no space. She felt so under pressure that she felt like she was suffocating. And she had no energetical space around her. So the first thing I did, I held the space for her without any judgment, without trying to fix her, trying to change something to get her out of that resistance, because that's one of the things that usually don't work, that I see out there, love, a little bit tough love. Hey, come on, get out of it. Get out of the resistance. Like, that doesn't really work. And so I helped her to open up the space, to create space, and then we went deeper into how she can set boundaries and create a healthy space so she doesn't even get so much under pressure. That was one piece. And why I'm sharing this with you, when we are under pressure, right? And I say we because that still happens to me. Even this morning, I just felt, interestingly enough, because this topic is coming up, so I was tuning in and I go through that myself. When we are under pressure, what happens to our energy field is literally like it shrinks, for lack of better words, right? Like we get tight, it shrinks, like our consciousness locks in down, and it feels like we have no space, and we spin and it gets very, very uncomfortable, okay? And if you relate to my clients, just say, yeah, I can relate, I'm just curious. And if you're just jumping in, today is about pressure, resistance, click the love and like button so that I know you're here. So the first, one of the really good things to do when you do feel under pressure is to check in. Do I have enough space? And the reason also why she got into that state of being is she doesn't trust herself yet. So she's very influenced by other people's opinions and by other people's judgments. And that's one of the reasons actually she came to me to work on herself, because she wants to feel more confident. She wants to be free to be herself, but she's very influenced, and because she doesn't trust herself, she takes pressure up from outside way more easily. So we'll keep working on that, obviously. And so you might want to check in, okay, when I feel under pressure, what is really going on? Do I maybe not have enough space? Have I been taking on too much from outside, besides of the internal pressure that you give yourself, and maybe you can create some space? Okay, so that can be one. Often when we feel under pressure, it comes from an internal state of anxiety as well. It can also be a feeling of not being good enough, being lonely. There are a lot of components. But what I'm sharing, some of the components, because these are some of the most common ones, and when we feel under pressure, is as if it's like a vicious cycle. We try harder to overcome, and then it creates more pressure, and it's someone we totally disconnect. Because here's the reality: too much pressure creates resistance. Goes hand in hand. So too much pressure creates resistance, and resistance, on the other side, loves pressure, because resistance feeds off pressure. The more pressure you give, resistance gets stronger. Does that make sense? Let me know if this resonates here so far with you. And I'm going to go over a few comments here before I move on. Mandy's feeling stressed today, trying to get my house organized. Okay, great. great show for today. Take a nice deep breath, everyone. Take another nice deep breath, relax your body, take the pressure off. So Anna is saying, sounds like me from one extreme to the other extreme. Yeah, you're not alone. That one extreme to the other extreme. And both ways, both sides don't really work. So it's really about how to handling it so that you can function and have a conscious choice and still operating and accomplish things. Beautiful. Feeling better after a large Baileys. Oh my God. We'll talk about next week. I'm getting ahead of myself. Although I want to mention, I have a super special guest next week. One of my favorite people one of the few people I work with personally as well, and she is a incredible energy healer, and she's going to be my special guest next week, and we're going to talk about that ties into this as well, addiction and anxiety, because often a lot of pressure actually feeds addiction as well, because we want to numb that feeling. So I'm not going to go into this right now, but I want you to set yourself a timer. Her name is Beth Danielle Jones, and she's going to be my guest on the next week's Soul Infused Monday show, and you do not want to miss that one. Super, super important show. Super excited about it, that I can actually offer that to you. Okay, let's go back to pressure. There's a difference between too much pressure and challenging you to greatness. So I'm not talking about never challenging yourself, not going out of the comfort zone. And you know this if you followed me, because I constantly challenge myself and challenge my clients to grow. So you gotta get outside your comfort zone, you gotta face those things, and you gotta push through discomfort and blocks. However, there's a huge difference between an energy is like, come on, do it, with judgment and shame and guilt and this type of pressured energy that really doesn't help, versus having a supportive and healthy way of looking, okay, I'm afraid of this. This is resistance. I'm going to face it. I'm going to push myself because I know I'm going to grow. Do you feel the difference? There's a huge difference. So you want to tune in when you feel under pressure. Okay, is this something that comes from a deep trust in myself, and I'm choosing to push myself to really push myself to greatness? The same that when you train, like I remember when I trained for a half marathon, that's a few years ago, I had to push myself, because who wants to get up in the morning and run 10 miles if they've never done this before, right? So I pushed myself. But that is a pushing that comes from, I have a vision, I have a goal, I want to overcome my limitations. So I push myself. And that's a pressure that is supportive for me to break through. However, if I judge myself and shame, or other people, I've seen coaches doing that with their clients. Tough love and pressure to help them. I've worked with so many people over time, and I hear this so often, and it doesn't work for me either, by the way. Tough love and too much pressure. And then we feel bad about it. That's the piece that I want to come in. If you have someone, or if you put yourself under pressure, or you have someone in your life that tries to push you, and it comes with this tough love and, hey, get over yourself, and you might even feel bad because you think something is wrong with you, that doesn't work for you. No, it just doesn't work for you. And it's not a kind, loving, and respectful way to help someone to overcome their limitations. And like, does this make sense? Does this land here for you? Give me some feedback here so I know. And if you have any specific questions, let me know. Yeah, of course, Emily, you gotta be there. Emily means like my next week's show guest. Yes. Okay, let me get a sip of water. And simply click the love button if this resonates with you, if this is you, if you can relate to this. Just click the love button if this is landing for you. And one of the best methods to really overcome resistance is to take the pressure off. And I know this is easier said than done, but just think about that. When you are in severe resistance, thanks for the love. Okay, okay, I get all kinds of signs here. Love, smileys, anger, sadness. I love it. Makes sense? Okay, Emily. Yeah, Norma here. Hi, Norma. I get laughing, likes. I like it. Yeah, send me everything. So the best method to overcome resistance or deal with resistance is to take the pressure off. To take a breath, to create space again so that you can get in touch with yourself. Because when you are in severe resistance, there's a level of anxiety, there is pressure, there's discomfort, and from an energetical perspective, you want to expand again. Find your own best way. Here's and I just recently did that. So I felt a lot of pressure and I knew what was going on and I wanted to do something different. And sometimes I even get caught up. It's like, oh, gotta get out of this resistance and pressure. I pressure myself to get out of pressure. That doesn't work, right? Have you ever tried that? Like pressure more to get out of pressure. No, it doesn't work. So one of the ways that helps for me after doing, like some energy shifting, for me, it's dancing. So I put a song on in my office, on my computer, no big deal, and I chose to dance. And for me, why this is helpful, because when I dance, I tune into my being and I move things through, and then I connected to what was going on underneath. And when I address what was going on underneath, then it can release and I can come back to myself. And when I'm back to myself is when I can go into motion and action again and do what I believe is best versus being pressured like a crazy person. Sue-Ann has a question, how to find the balance between tough love and creating space? Yeah, that's a question that's individual for everybody. However, it's like, you want to find out first if tough love works for you. I don't think tough love is a good method in general. I don't believe there's something tough love kind of thing. Like love is love. Love is kind, compassionate, loving. Yeah? Tough is tough, right? So the balance is when first of all, you might not have, if you're not sure, ask someone to help you with that, right? Because it's really like we are so blind to ourselves sometimes. But a good way to do that is that to tune in. And when you feel under pressure, you take first a breath, you take inventory. And then you ask yourself, what I'm doing, where is it coming from? Is it coming from pressure, guilt? Guilt is a good one. Guilt or resistance? Or is this coming from the vision of me growing into something? Is it more in tune and in alignment with my vision? Or is it coming out of pressure, fear, and guilt? So that's maybe something for you to explore with. I hope that answers your questions. Great, great questions. And don't worry too much about finding the balance right away. It's not about doing it right and having it all figured out. It's about taking yourself on and looking at yourself as your own cheerleader. And how do you want to be treated? I know exactly what works for me, but I've been doing this for a long time. I know exactly what works for me and I know exactly what doesn't work for me, right? And therefore, I'm very in tune to that. So let yourself explore it and discover what does work for you or not. And again, to the difference, the people who work with me closely know that, it's like I hold them, I face whatever's, and everything is welcomed. And sometimes they get triggered, or sometimes I become a projection for them. It's not about me, but because I can handle it and I'm not attached to, them, being nice to them, I can hold them high and I can help them face that. And I can do that in a very loving and respectful way, and still I challenge them to grow, versus me being all tough and say, hey, get over yourself, and in a judgmental, shameful, guilt and pressure way that I keep seeing over and over. It's a sad thing, but I see it out there. Maybe you've experienced that before. Maybe you have even someone that you work with. Find out what works for you and do the work to trust yourself, because the more you trust yourself, the more you will determine what is working for me or not. Okay, and from an energetical perspective, I want to just complete that, because I only can, really scratch the surface here about this topic. But energy, from an energy perspective, why a lot of pressure doesn't work for many people is, and I mentioned this before, it does disconnect and it interrupts flow, okay? And the more you are in flow, energy flows, and the more you are connected and you are in alignment with your soul, with the truth, with your authentic self, with the essence of your being, the more flow and the more centered, the more grounded, and the more space you have to be in that state. A lot of energy will contract, and disconnect you. And when you're disconnected, what happens is you don't have space and you feel more easily threatened, you feel more vulnerable, but vulnerable in the sense that because you don't have protection mechanism when you're in that. What happens then energetically is we close off. We want to hide, we close off, but however, it doesn't really work and you get also very isolated. So it is a very uncomfortable state to be. Why in the world would someone think, hey, when I'm in that state, I'm going to actually be more productive, right? And I had to learn this lesson myself. And there were times that, I'll give you one example that I remember, that I wanted to write an email to my people. And I was sitting there and I'm putting myself under pressure and I wanted to find the right words. And I was in a time, it's like, I want to get this done. And the more I was in that energy, how can words from my soul come through me when I'm in that energy? So back then I tried harder and I did this tough love kind of thing for myself. It's like, come on, Sonia, you got to do this. This is not about you. You got to be in service and, all of that stuff, until I figured out, okay, this doesn't work. Whatever I'm going to write in this energy is going to have that energy. So I completely took myself out of that task. I stopped doing it. Took care of my energy so that I had again more space. I reconnected. And when I shifted and I felt, okay, now I come from a place of service, connection, being myself again, I sat down and wrote it. And sometimes it's tough because I think, yeah, but I have to do it. I don't have time for this. Actually, but the more you try to do it in that energy, the least or the less it's gonna work. Okay? So I hope this was helpful. A few nuggets here and there. And if you have any follow-up questions, let me know and keep coming on the Monday shows, because it's a great way to really reconnect every week and to set the week into an inspired, state of being. So, but before you leave, I will have a question for you. Take a nice deep breath. And tune in to everything you've heard, everything that you can relate to, and tell me, what is the most valuable thing you're getting out of this show today? What is one thing you heard, or what's landing for you? What's the most valuable thing? And I say this often, and I will keep repeating this because it's so valuable. The reason why I want you to do this has 3 reasons, and it's really beneficial for so many. Number 1, I want you to tune in. What's the most valuable thing for yourself? Because therefore, you anchor it in yourself. It gets deeper, and you can implement it more. You can incorporate it more. So that's 1, just for you. You want to share that with me, and it doesn't have to be perfect, because it's beneficial for yourself. The other reason is, when you share your takeaway, someone else might read it and think, oh my God, yeah, that was so good. I didn't even realize that. And you give them the opportunity to have an additional insight, an additional breakthrough. I hear this so often, especially in my programs, when someone shares something that they didn't even think of, and it makes a huge difference for them. It's a generous, kind, and loving thing to do for someone else. And thirdly, it is great feedback for me, what's landing for you, what's not landing for you, so that I can serve you better. So it's a win, win, win for everyone. So I invite you and I ask you to leave below what's your biggest takeaway from this show today. And while you do that, set yourself a reminder right now on your phone for next Monday. You do not want to miss my special guest, Beth, Danielle Jones. Been working with her for a long time. She's one of the very, very few people that I actually personally work with. And I am super excited that she's going to be here on our show, on my show. And so set a timer right now. Put it in your calendar. Set a timer for 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time for next Monday, the 27th. And it's about addiction and anxiety, and invite someone that you know might resonate with this topic. Okay, so I'm gonna share a few takeaways with you because it's helpful for so many. The importance of staying in flow. Great takeaway, Lynn. Thank you. So important. I have to rematch Sonia. I don't even know what that means. I don't know what that means, Laura, but I'm gonna take it as something positive. There's nothing wrong with me just because it doesn't work for me. Emily, amazing takeaway. Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. If something doesn't work for you, means something doesn't work for you. That's all it means. Sue says, breathe. Take pressure off myself. Go dancing. I love it. Oh, have to rewatch. Okay. I love it. Okay, she doesn't have to rematch me. You have to rewatch. Laura, yes, absolutely. Go rewatch. And great having you here, by the way. Thank you for making me laugh. Darlene, pushing myself doesn't make things better. Absolutely, yes. Great takeaway. Enrico is saying, too much pressure could create resistance. Yes, good takeaway. Yeah, too much pressure actually in general creates resistance. Yeah, great takeaway. Pressure brings isolation and closed off energy. Great takeaway, Lisa. And Eleanor says, I need to reduce the pressure I have been placing on myself. Fantastic. Hey, I love it. I love you guys. Thank you for being with me here today. For the rest of the week, this week, I invite you to take the pressure off and be mindful in which ways you are doing it, and make sure you breathe, create space so that you are very consciously aware where it's coming from, and be kind, loving, and gentle with yourself so that energy can flow. See you on Monday, and you have a fantastic rest of your day and an incredible week. Much love.